sales really is not hard. One of the biggest like hacks to sales is that you just have to understand that everybody wants to do things for their reasons, right? Everybody has their reason that they want that they actually want to, that they need to hire a lawyer, right? And the secret is trying to identify, first of all, what is the reason that the person that you're talking to, the person that is on the other side of the table or on the Zoom call with you, what is the actual thing that they want, right? What are they afraid of happening? What do they want to avoid happening? What do they want to get back to, right? And then helping them understand that their best chance of achieving that outcome is by hiring you to handle their case, right? Because a lot of times people want, a lot of times lawyers will get across the table and they'll just try to start talking about the service, right? So, whatever your service may actually be, maybe you're a criminal defense attorney, right? And it's a DUI case, right? Or maybe it's a personal injury, right? And you just talk about, okay, well, here's how we do this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the maximum settlement. We're going to do all that type of stuff for you, right? But the reality is that getting the maximum amount of money might not be the actual thing that they want. Sure, they want money. Sure, if you're a DUI attorney, yes, they want to beat the DUI, but you have to look and you have to like ask them questions and figure out why do they want this actual thing, right? So in the case of the personal injury attorney, right? I always use this example. Maybe it's a situation where it's the primary breadwinner in the family and he got injured at work or wherever, and now he's not able to work, right? Because he's not able to, whatever the injuries are, not able to pay medical bills, insurance won't cover it, and not able to work anymore. So now, yes, they want to get paid, right? But the reality is that there's a hit to the ego, right? There's a hit to the pride. There's a feeling of self-worthlessness that they have, right? In this particular scenario. So if you can identify on that, and you can say, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put all the steps in, we're going to send a demand letter to the insurance company, and we're going to take this thing all the way to trial if necessary. That way we can make sure that we get your medical bills covered. That way we get you the money to take care of your pain and suffering. And ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to put you in a situation where you're going to get the medical care that you need. You're going to get your health back. You're going to get back to work so you can start taking care of your family again, right? That's a lot more powerful than just saying, we're going to get you a lot of money. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying anybody's like that. I'm being facetious, obviously, but the reality is that if you can figure out their reason, the actual reason that they want, that the actual outcome that they desire, which is always going to be unique to them, then what you can do is you can hone in on that and you can talk about getting them that outcome. And when that happens, they're going to hire, they're much, much, much more likely to hire you rather than if you just use this generic thing like, oh yeah, we're going to beat your DUI case, right? Maybe it's a DUI case and it's a school teacher, right? Or it's somebody that their biggest concern is protecting their reputation at all costs, right? Because they know that if they get arrested and it goes into a public record, or if they get convicted and it goes into the public record and their reputation gets out, then they're going to be super embarrassed, and maybe it won't even affect their job. Maybe they just don't want to be embarrassed. And that's their biggest thing. They just really want to keep this under wraps. You know what I mean? That's what you focus on. What is it that they want? So you figure out how do you make it about their reasons, right? And that's the thing about sales is like sales, it's finding out what is their reason and helping persuade them that you're the best option to help them get the thing that they want or the thing that they want. So what's interesting is that's kind of the overall objective of your sales. Now there's another really, really good tip with sales that I learned this weekend, that it's the most obvious tip that I don't know why I never thought of this before. I don't even know why I've never heard this before, right? But it's really interesting. The seminar that we went to last week, it's a huge company. They do hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And they've got a very, very, very strong sales team, right? And I mean, Bill and I were sitting here just shaking our heads at how good their sales team, and their number one rule in everything that they do is, and write this down, always agree with the customer, right? Now, that's different than the customer is always right, because anyone that's had clients before knows that the customer is most certainly not always right, right? But always, always, always agree with the customer. And here's why. Because people like people that they agree with, right? So we do business with people that we like. So who do we go on vacation with? We go on vacation with people that we like. Who do we, our political parties. We're part of political parties because we agree with the people in the political parties. We disagree with people in the other political parties. And a lot of times people don't like people in other political parties because they disagree with them, right? Think about like Thanksgiving or Christmas when you get your family together. You typically, the relatives that you kind of can't stand is usually because you disagree with them, right? So if you can break that barrier and make it so that you always agree with them and that everything they say you agree with, before you kind of turn it to kind of, making them view it another way, then you're going to get more people that like you. And when they like you, they're much more likely to hire you. Now, if you combine that with figuring out their reason, then, it's a done deal, right? So for example, somebody says, well, your prices are too high, or, you want to take 40%, that's a lot of money, or 30% or whatever your fees are, that's a lot of money. Instead of saying, that's not a lot of money, you say, you're absolutely right. It is a lot of money. In fact, you should see what they're charging us for this building. It's insane. I agree. It's a lot of money. But what's interesting is that while that is a lot of money, and I wish I could charge you less, I think about how much it's actually going to cost you if you're not able to get your DUI thrown out. And what happens is you end up, your employer, because of that, you lose your CDL license. And now you can't work and you have to get another job. So yeah, it is expensive. I agree. It's expensive, but it's a lot less expensive than this other thing over here. So you always start with, I agree. They say, I need to think about it. You're absolutely right. I think you should, I absolutely agree. You should think about this. You shouldn't make a rash decision. And then from there, you can work on the objection, right? But if they say something, if they have an objection and you immediately disagree with them, then what is going to happen is most people are going to harden up and they're going to solidify their stance, right? And their objection is going to be justified, and they're going to be much less likely to be moved off of that position, right? This also works really well with spouses. If you have a spouse, it works well with kids, works with anything. So that's a tip, is that you should always start with agreement. In fact, it's funny, there's this thing that I saw, it's a challenge where it's called the agreement challenge, where for 24 hours, try to agree with everything that anybody says to you, right? Even if you disagree with it, agree with it, and then figure out a way that you can find the agreeable part. And then, then you can kind of make your points after that. Right. But, I agree. But that's what Laura Hirsch said. Yeah. Jim Carrey's Yes Man comes to mind. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, my thought is that if it's, if this philosophy is good enough for the sales team that I know uses this constantly, then I know that it works, because it's just absolutely ridiculous. So I can't wait to start using that tip alone. And I've actually been using it since I got back, and it's actually worked pretty well. Not in any sales situations, just because of the fact that I haven't been in any sales situations, but even just in everyday conversation. It's amazing. When you agree with people, everybody's happy. Everybody likes you. And we do business with people that we like. So those are two of my sales. Really, if you can master those two things alone, then you're ahead of the game.